So basically, my question was about pantheism, as I'm from India and I encounter many Hindu friends,
Yeah.
and we'll talk about this. So, how do we go with pantheism according to him?
The way the way I like to deal with that is very simple, which is that anything that is made up of parts is generated. The universe is made up of parts, therefore the universe is generated. If God is everywhere with His essence, which is in the Arabic terms called wahdat al-wujud, pantheism. If God is everywhere in this sense, this would entail that He can be divided into pieces. Because if He's everywhere in His essence, that means He inheres in every single aspect of creation, which includes parts and things that can be broken up. And that would entail iftiqar, or the idea of dependence, and that would entail being generated. And the evidence of that in the Quran is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions الذي خلقك فسواك فعدلك في أي صورة ما شاء ركبك. That He is the one who خلقك, He created you, وسواك, He proportioned you, عدلك, He orientated you, في أي صورة ما شاء, in any form that He wanted to. He done tarkeeb of you, He put you together. Meaning what? Meaning really what we can understand is that anything which is murakkab, or is made up of individual parts which can be divided really, this requires an external agency in order to put it together. Otherwise it wouldn't exist. And so the pantheistic model, it puts God's power and it puts His indivisibility into great disrepute, and therefore it's an absurd concept in contradistinction with God. I think it's impossible to believe in this actually and believe in God. I think that's actually, we're talking about religion disproving implications. I think if someone believes in the pantheistic God, like I've heard some Sikhs say that, you know, Guru Nanak to God, okay, is like, you know, a drop of water in the ocean. So in other words, he's part of him, right? We say, okay, in that case, so if God can be taken like water out of an ocean, that means God can be emptied like an ocean, and you can put more water into the ocean, and that would suggest that God is some kind of physical thing. This is a kind of anthropomorphism, because pantheism and anthropomorphism are two things.
Yeah, and I think another point which is very, very important to understand from the perspective of polytheism and Islamic monotheism is, rather than just talking about for example, you know, the Hindus will say, okay, we believe in this, right, and you believe in that. I think it's important as well to actually show them that if we look at the history of Hinduism and we look at the various different types, we can even argue that there is no such thing as Hinduism, right? It's not actually, and this is very interesting, and this is one of the miracles of Islam, that the center point of the Hindu religion is actually the modern state of Pakistan. So the modern state of Pakistan, maybe this is why a lot of Hindus hate Pakistan, right? Because that's like where it began from. And when it actually began, and you start to see all these branches and whatnot, it's not one religion. The religion of the people of the Indus Valley civilization, or from the Hindu Kush, they were called Hindus, because they're from that geographic region. But it's not one religion. This is very interesting. Amongst them, we have historical accounts of Hindus, right, who are atheists, who actually don't believe in God.
Right.
Then you get Hindus who actually have beliefs in God or multiple gods and these types of things. Then you have others who actually believe in one God. So you have all of these people, and they've all been categorized as Hindus. I think what's important is, like Hijab mentioned, we can show them logically and using the Quran that actually polytheism makes no sense. However, we can also say to them, look, you also have to understand that there is no such thing as Islam versus Hinduism, because Hinduism is
it's
not monolithic.
Yeah.
And additionally, what's very interesting is that I had obviously people remember things when it's mentioned as in the form of a conversation or story. I was having this conversation with this Hindu guy when I was at university, and he literally shocked me, because I said to him, why do you believe in so many different gods? And he's actually quite learned in Hinduism. He takes it very seriously. He said, we don't. we actually believe there's one God.
Which they say is Brahman, right? It's good.
Brahman, Bhagwan, some say Shiva, some others have this type of trinity of Hindu gods, but ultimately they believe that all of their demigods go back to one supreme.
Yes.
Which is, how different is that to the Quraysh? Not that different.
No, exactly. Yeah.
All it is,
good point, man.
all it is that polytheism. And look, the fact is, there's nothing new under the sun. Whether the Quraysh were worshipping Lat, Manat, or Shiva, Brahman, or whatever, ultimately they have the same philosophy.
Right.
Yeah. So
it's very similar to the pantheon of the Greeks as well.
Exactly. All of them actually have the same. I want to share something which is phenomenal. It's actually really something which is going to stay with me till the day I probably.
No, we need to have as well. Yeah.
So we got a phone call in the office next door, the IRA office. There's a guy who wanted to leave Islam. He's a new convert, wanted to leave Islam. You know, brother, the camera brother. So he said to me, look, there's this guy. He wants to leave Islam. He converted to Islam. Can you talk to him? I said, sure. So I rang him. I rang this guy and I said to him, why do you want to leave Islam? He said, I converted to Islam because of monotheism. However, I went to the mosque, and in the mosque they have, and he's up north somewhere, they have a picture of one of their sheikhs, and they told me to worship God through him, to actually use him as an intercessor. And he said, I only converted to Islam because of monotheism, but if this is what Islam teaches, then I don't want to be Muslim. So I said to him, my brother, do you know what? Your understanding of Islam is that Islam doesn't allow this, and you're absolutely correct. Islam doesn't allow to go through an intercessor. There must be some extreme sect that he was living around where they had this. He said that they actually had the picture of the sheikh in the mosque. Anyway, so I just happened to ask him.
I mean, and the Quran is very clear about just that. وَإِنَّ الْمَسَاجِدَ لِلَّهِ فَلَا تَدْعَ مَعَ اللَّهِ أَحَدًا. You know, and the masjids are for God. So don't call any other than him in the masjid.
And this is so powerful. So a new Muslim is recognizing that when I read the Quran, I understood that this is not allowed. So then I asked him out of curiosity. I said to him, why did you convert to Islam? I expected him to say, I was an atheist, I was a Christian. That's what you get. He gave me a radically different answer. He said, I was a traditional English pagan. I believed in the Nordic gods, and we believed in idols. And amongst our idols, we used to pray to them. One day, when I was in my worship, I decided to pray to the overall supreme God that they believe in, just like the Quraysh. And all of these gods are gods that supreme God gave permission to.
Right.
He said, that day, I asked the supreme God for guidance. And in my heart, I lost all interest in these idols. And after that supplication to God, I became a firm believer that there's only one God. Then when I looked into religion, I recognized Islam must be the truth because of its strict monotheism. So his reason for accepting Islam was monotheism. His reason for rejecting Islam possibly was because he thought Islam doesn't teach monotheism. However, even as a mushrik, he made dua to the supreme God. So even when it comes to Hindus, or when it comes to people, they are sometimes scared of the word Allah or even the word God with Hindus, right? If you say to them, look, ultimately you believe there's one supreme who's beyond everything, right? Doesn't it make sense that there's one supreme above everything and all of the rest of these gods are powerless? And sometimes it's better to use this type of argument, even though conceptually it's the same as Tawheed, but they're less likely to put up their barriers. Because as soon as you mention Allah, as soon as you mention, these types of terminologies, they get scared. Because one thing which is very hard to get around, right, is that all of these polytheistic religions, they're on an uphill battle. It is so fitri, it is so natural to believe in one supreme being. This is something which is so hard to get out of the human psyche.
But I would put it this way. In terms of rationally, there are two arguments that completely defeat polytheism. And you don't need more than that. And that includes Trinitarianism, Hinduism, and Sikhism, all of them. Because, as we said, Sikhism and Hinduism both rely, for the most part, and obviously there are some variations here, and I'm being very clear, but for the most part on pantheistic notions, which is for us a form of polytheism, by the way. So what we'll say is, there's two dalils, two evidences which you should acquaint yourself with. One of them is called Dalil al-Tamanu', which is mentioned in chapter number 23, verse number 90. 91. I believe it's 91 anyway. It could be 93. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He mentions, ما اتخذ الله من ولد وما كان معه من إله إذا لذهب كل إله بما خلق ولا على بعضهم على بعض. That Allah has not taken a son, and He has not taken with Him any God. If that had been the case, they would, every single one of them would have taken away what they had created, and that they would have tried to outstrip one another. It makes no rational sense for there to be more than one all-powerful entity. Because if you say there's more than one all-powerful, then they cannot be all-powerful if they're not powerful over the other one. Simple as that. You can't have more than one all-powerful. You can't have one supreme creator, and you can't have one supreme will. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, that had there been any gods other than Allah, la fasadata, the heavens and the earth would have been destroyed. And so, because you can't have more than one supreme will. It's like driving a car and you have two people driving. Like, where's the car going to go? It's going to go in different directions. It's not going to be the uniformity of nature brings us to the conclusion that you have one supreme will that's organizing all the things. Having said that, one argument, which is tamana, which is the idea that you can't have one supreme will, power, and creative capacity. You can't have more than one of those. And you can't have more than one necessary existence, if you want to add that to that as well, right? The second thing is, when it comes to pantheism, especially, and wahdat al-wujud, then what breaks that is the tarkib, or the argument from division. The idea that you can't have a form which is which is made out of divisible parts, which can somehow not be generated. Anything that is made out of parts is generated. The universe is made out of parts, therefore the universe is generated. If you say that God inheres within the universe with His essence, then He is generated as well. And that would disprove the idea that version of God cannot exist. Simple as that.
Yeah. Jazakallah khair for your question, Brother Arshan.